Hello, everyone. Word on the street is that layoffs are happening all over the country, and some are doing it worse than others. Let's get to it. All right, gang. So we know that layoffs are happening. We're headquartered in Portland, Oregon. Nike's doing layoffs right now, and a variety of other companies are doing layoffs right now. So layoffs, they happen. It's a part of business. They happen. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do layoffs. I want to highlight a couple wrong ways. Let's start with Paramount Global. So Paramount Global had ads in the Super Bowl. Fun fact, the buy-in was minimum $7 million to get an ad in the Super Bowl. So that doesn't include all the production costs and purchasing talent, etc. $7 million to get an ad in the Super Bowl, the most highly viewed Super Bowl in the history of all Super Bowls. They were there. And 2 days later, they announced that they were going to do widespread layoffs, impacting over 800 employees, which is about 3% of its workforce, all right? That was rolled out 2 days after the Super Bowl. I'll give you another example of just poor timing or just not a thoughtful approach to layoffs. We were working with a client and they had to do some layoffs. Now, we knew that these layoffs were coming for months and months and months. They decided to launch their layoff decisions and alert people during one of their biggest events. Now, this was an event planning organization. During one of their biggest events, and about 40% of those impacted by the layoffs were at the event. They were made aware that they were being laid off effective immediately while on site, out of state, putting together a big event. Oh, and then to put, icing on top of this cake, they canceled many of their credit cards before they could even get on the flights to come back. So they didn't have per diem money. They couldn't pay for their baggage to be loaded. They had to come up with money to finance coming back home after being laid off while being on site of a client location. Can you say poor timing? Look, layoffs are hard no matter what. Anyone impacted by a layoff, they are going to be experiencing hardship, right? Whether it's the loss of the job or just trying to figure out how to make ends meet as a result of losing their employment and finding their next opportunity for employment. But the way in which you do the layoff matters most. So I want to give you a few things to think about if you have to, unfortunately, go through a layoff process, which happens, okay? We're in human resources. We participated in, probably at this point, dozens and dozens and dozens of layoffs. We've seen them done really poorly. We've seen them done incredibly well. So here are some things to just consider as you pursue a layoff, or if you need to pursue a layoff. Number one is timing. Timing is everything, right? Paramount, you can't spend millions of dollars on commercials and then lay off 3% of your workforce, 800 people, 2 days later. Poor timing. You shouldn't do a big layoff 2-3 days, a week or so before Christmas. Poor timing, right? Like, you knew this layoff was coming. You could have stuck the landing. That didn't happen during Christmas, right? That didn't happen 2 days after the playoff. That didn't happen while you're on site at a client location, one of your biggest events. It's bad for morale. It's bad for public relations. It's bad for your image. Just think about the timing thoughtfully. If you set a date, look at last year's dates, right? Look at what's on the calendar right now and just anticipate what's on the horizon. Number two, think about the resources that you make available to the staff. Staff are going to be going through it, right? Don't be cold. I remember watching a video where they did mass layoffs where it was like, dozens of people on a Zoom and they just informed them. HR did this. You've been laid off. Here are your resources. Thank you, good night. What is that, right? We can't go into a more intimate space. We can't have a one-to-one conversation or a 5-to-1 conversation. We got to bring 400 people into a room because it's more efficient, more effective. No, maybe more efficient, but definitely not more effective. It is going to make a lot of people very upset. All right. So think about the resources that they need. Think about how it is you're delivering that message. And then the third one here is transparency. Try to provide as much information as humanly possible. The people want to know why they were let go. Were they let go because of performance? Were they let go because of budget cuts that directly hit their particular department? Were they let go because you no longer believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion? That's happening, right? Be real with people because these are all adults. Don't treat grown-ups as though they are children. They are not. And then also help them understand How deep is the cut? How long will this last? Will I be able to reapply for a position? Will I have recall rights? I mean, if it's a non-unionized environment, that doesn't mean you can't recall the people that you have laid off when times are better. So just think about that, right? Layoffs are hard for everybody, but how you do it matters. When you do it matters, and the way in which you communicate with those adults, it matters. So that's this issue of word on the street. Jump in the chat if you do want to chit chat about what's going on with layoffs, or come up with some strategies to avoid causing harm that could last people a lifetime. We can talk about that. Until next time.